All right, what's going on, y'all? I'm back for another volume here. Welcome to the franchise. This will be volume 14, episode 14, once again, with the franchise guy, aka the franchise kid, aka Young Sporty, here for another episode on another volume with the aftermath of everything that's been going on after this round of the divisional playoffs. It is playoff season in the NFL. It's been great, exciting to watch. And I know it's going to get interesting this week as it goes on with, the aftermath and the fallout of the results of the playoffs so far. So coming back with another volume for you. And in this one, just want to do another quick hit episode here with the aftermath of things, who I feel will be the best coaching matches for the best teams, like the top vacancies, head coaching vacancies for right now that most people are talking about or got their eyes on right now. So, with that being said, I'm going to just get right into it. And what I want to start off with first is a coaching match right now that I believed for a while, since the firings and since the postseason started. I'm gonna start with the Bears. Now, mind you, I am aware right now, and I see by now, as recording this, Ben Johnson has decided to take the job to be the Chicago Bears head coach. And I'm going to get into that in a second on my thoughts on the actual result now a little bit throughout, this episode on my takes. But at first, earlier today, and even before today, before recording this, I felt like the best fit for the Bears, not the best fit, but a match that I thought would be a match was Mike McCarthy being the head coach. I think him being the head coach of the team, being able to work with Caleb, kind of would have been a match, a decent match there, a solid match there. A head coach with a lot of experience dealing with a quarterback who seems to think, they are, they got it all figured out or really talented, call for Aaron Rodgers when he was young and in his prime. So I think that would have been a match. Plus, he seems like a coach that could still get the most out of, or get the most production out of the rest of the roster, as far as the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, which Chicago still does have some good pieces on both sides of the ball. They still got a little bit more to work on and shore up on this roster here. But I think that someone that could oversee everything going on and can manage it with, how tough it could be as a head coaching job with the Chicago Bears. A lot of losing, for them in their history for a long time. But it is one of those teams that, they have a history. They're still hanging on to this, the Chicago Bears defense team and all of that. And you got to respect that legacy and that history. But, it seems like from how long I've been watching football, I haven't really seen their culture kind of evolve like that. I think a hire like this, I'm not saying starts that or makes a big spark for that, but I think that I said McCarthy because if they find out if the organization finds out that Caleb is probably not the guy and he flops and everything like that, I think that this is a guy that could overcome and survive that. If that happens in his first year with Caleb or second year with Caleb or third year with Caleb, this is a guy that could probably survive that and will find a way with a veteran quarterback or a backup quarterback or a drafted backup quarterback within a 3 to 5 year span coaching the team, that will find a way to still have the team winning and get some success and overcome that if Caleb is a flop and, doesn't work out. Now, there's still time and everything, and I know that I've been saying I just don't see it yet. I've been saying that the whole time from the start on Caleb. Like, I don't see it all yet. And it does take a little bit longer than others for everything to come together. So I understand that. But we're going to see. You know what I mean? I for right now, I still kind of think Caleb might be a flop. You know what I mean? And the other person that came to mind too, and I think will be a match just because, he's already in that area there. young guy also who could probably grow with Caleb. And I think also in the situation that Caleb may not pan out, he seems like a personality and a kind of leader and coach that could overcome that also, and probably put a stamp with his own culture and philosophy in the building. Is if Notre Dame loses the national championship tonight, which it looks like that most likely would happen, as Ohio State should be heavily favored, I think, or even if it's not a big blowout, whatever, Ohio State will probably win as the better team overall. But Marcus Freeman, so like I said, I think he's another guy, even though he's young and a college coach, and I don't really like a college coach going to the NFL like that. From what I've seen and what I've noticed for myself and everything like that, not saying it's the actual factual and shit, but, college coaches to the NFL rarely ever work out, or it doesn't really turn out that good more times than not. But I think that Marcus Freeman, even if he failed in his first 2 years with Caleb, he seems like, he said there's still a lot of work that needs to be put out there on his resume for him, but he seems like he could overcome a situation like that. But, they got Ben Johnson now, so he took the job. Hopefully it does work out for him, and, he's able to do what he has to do with Caleb within the next 4 years, 3 to 5 years, or whatever. Usually most coaching contracts, I believe, are like 4 years or 5 years. Do they survive it all the way? If they get mad success, yeah. Usually if it's a situation where some young boy at quarterback, they ain't got it together and shit, or offense or defensive roster, they ain't got it together with a quarterback that ain't shit. You know what I mean? They don't even make it to the third, or they make it to the middle of the third, or just the middle of the second year. And I didn't like this match for Ben Johnson because of the same reasons that I brought up with the first two coaches. You're a rookie head coach, your offensive coordinator, meaning that you're probably most likely only going to focus on that side of the ball and everything. So if Caleb don't pan out and he flop, he ain't it, then what you going to do? Now you possibly got to go through, if it comes to that, you possibly got to go through another losing season again to try and get a new quarterback or a top quarterback now. Now you got to restart with them to see what the fuck they are. It might be a losing season again, or middle of the pack season, or this, that, whatever, right? And then the season after that in their sophomore year might be a letdown, or it might be they get bumped in the first round. Now you're already 3 years into your contract and everything, and now you got the city saying, yo, I don't know if he's the guy. He can't even, you know what I mean? Or in that fourth year, you get clipped. In the beginning of the fourth year, you get clipped. Let's say you and that new rookie quarterback don't get along. You know what I mean? And then it's like you start the season like 2-3, or 4-6. You know what I mean? They clip you right there. And it's just that I know I'm thinking a little bit too far ahead, but this is how I like to think sometimes in certain scenarios and stuff that could happen, because it's not like we have not seen this play out with certain franchises and certain rookie head coaches or OC niggas that's the new wave that is going to be a head coach with a young quarterback that they don't know about, or he proved in his first year that he really ain't shit, and you still got to figure it out. We've seen this play out before. You know what I mean? So just something that to think about that I put on my mind there. And, I think that if Caleb doesn't work out throughout this 5-year contract, whatever he is, 2 to 4 year span, that he's going to be the Bears head coach, it's clipped for him. You know what I'm saying? So he's kind of fucked, So that's why I kind of didn't like that match, you being a first-year head coach. You know what I mean? And even if it doesn't work out, I believe someone like him is going to get a chance again, because he's a great OC. He's got good offensive schemes, great offensive mind. But now we about to really see what you're really about as a whole CEO, leader, coaching the whole team, and your philosophy for a whole program and a whole system and a whole culture, the kind of culture of winning that you want to instill in throughout the building. Because there's also a lot to overcome there in Chicago through all the years of losing, and how they want to operate their organization behind the scenes and all that other extra shit. You know what I mean? But I'm just going to keep it more mainly to coaching and the scheming and what goes down on the field and the personnel on the roster and the players that you got. But we'll see. We'll see if he could really make shit shake and really flip the script with Caleb Williams, you know what I mean, and start to really get his career in motion and get that team some wins. I mean, it seems like everywhere else on the roster is pretty solid to strong. They got edge rushers. You got Montez Sweat. You got some defensive backs, Jalen Johnson, Tariq Stevenson. You got some safeties back there that could play. You got some receivers, DJ Moore, Allen, if he sticks around. You got Cole Kmet. You need some more pieces that are a little bit more dynamic on offense. Got Roshan Johnson, running back, good power back, but you need a little bit more. But, it starts with the quarterback. It starts with that offensive line, and it starts with the quarterback, because they definitely have to clean up that offensive line and also help Caleb out back there and protect him. But, it starts up front and with the quarterback there. And, if he can make shit shake with that, or it's trick plays and all this shit or whatever, we'll see. But if it goes south and, the main thing, the quarterback's a flop, it might be clipped. You know what I mean? So I'll leave it at that right now for the Bears. After that, I'm going to go with the Cowboys. Go with the Cowboys next, where if he's available right now, which I think he should be when it's all said and done, once the playoffs and Super Bowl is over, let's be real. It's got to be Kellen Moore. It's got to be Kellen Moore. He's familiar with Jerry. Jerry can control him. He's basically like a Jason Garrett 2.0 right now in the making to Jerry. I mean, that's just what I'm saying. You know what I mean? But, he's also familiar with Dak, and he could probably get the most out of Dak with the lack of weapons that they do have around him right now, and the lack of real explosiveness and execution all the time that Dak provides. I mean, Dak is still a solid and a good quarterback in the league, but he ain't really it like that. But it's better than having the rest of the guys that are out there in the NFL, So there's a sense of stability there in that position with Dak. But you bring a guy back around who's also young, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say he's the best as far as the offensive mind, offensive scheme, but he's one of the good ones out there. And he has a familiarity with Dak to try and get the most out of him. And then you could try and do that for about a year or two with the lack of weapons outside of CeeDee Lamb. You know what I mean? While, you retool the roster correctly on both sides of the ball, whether you have to do a big trade or just draft really well and make some sneaky signings that no one thought was going to be good. You know what I'm saying? You do that in the meantime and retool correctly on the roster and shit. You know what I'm saying? They may fuck around and squeak into the playoffs as a wild card, and then the year after that, build upon that and be a real contender that you got to fucking worry about again and everything. So, to be honest with you, I think it's real easy to insert Kellen Moore here in this spot, and it's a match that makes sense, at least to me. You know what I mean? But I just think that, that's a match right there. And shit, I mean, maybe even Deion Sanders also. But I'll get into that a little bit more. Deion Sanders, I think, brings the attention, brings the spark, a lot of ambition and inspiration in that building for the players. So it could get them to really, wake the fuck up and be like, yo, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about being the Cowboy. It's about being a champion. It's about being a winner. Because if Deion coming in, he like, nigga, when I was here, yeah, it was cool being a Cowboy, this, that, what it comes with it. But I was already Deion. So I already had my shit that came with it. It just added to the Cowboy shit. And the Cowboy shit added to me. But I came here and I was a champion. It's about being a champion and shit. Not just being like, yo, we the Cowboys, so we lit. We them niggas and shit. Y'all gotta keep eyes on us. Nah. It's about being a fucking champion. And that's what Deion is. Deion is a champion. He also is gonna bring, attention and the sparks and lights and all of that, and the swag. But one thing I like about Deion's philosophy and his coaching style, he wanna make sure y'all niggas is ready to go and really understand and grab your situation to fucking succeed and be efficient and win. because that's what he do. He take it serious. Like, yeah, he could play, have fun, be a showman and all that shit, but this nigga's about winning. He's proved that in his career, you know what I mean? And coaching, he it's not like he's won championships or been on big winning streaks with Colorado, but he's turned programs around, Jackson State and Colorado, that, you know what I mean? It's not like they were very known like that and having big wins and championships, but he's a turnaround guy. And, you're a turnaround guy with also already having the pedigree of being a champion, and then you take it to the big stage in the NFL and the big stage in Jerry's world, with Dallas. Shit, you might not have to count that out, but, I'll just say that for right now, on that. But I think that the match, that I'm sticking with in my head that is probably going to happen or may happen, or the match, that makes a little bit of sense, is Kellen Moore to the Cowboys right now. So after that, shit, leading right into it, now I could get into it a little bit more. I'm going to go with the Raiders. Not necessarily what I think the match is, but what I think they might do. Actually, they probably might not do it, but it's just how things are kind of boiling down. And it's just weird vibes around this hiring cycle right now. It's weird. I think, I'm going to just say this real quick too, it's weird vibes, I think, right now from what I'm observing. Weird vibes in the hiring cycle and the coaches that are available, aren't available, and the teams that need a coach or don't need a coach and all that. And it's weird vibes around like roster moves or roster needs, because this draft also coming up is kind of weird. It's not really that strong. The draft order doesn't really line up in a place that fits for certain talents in the top, I want to say the top 10, but even the whole first round, how it's slotted and everything, it's just really weird. And then after, I want to say maybe the second round or third round, mainly after the second round, like who really is there out there? We don't really know too much about the other guys out there, but I know that when that time rolls around, I'm definitely going to be digging and researching and seeing who's who, how their game looks on tape and on the field. I definitely want to dive into that, and see. But it's just weird vibes that I feel like this year and this season leading into the all season about like, what's what and what's the match and what's, how shit got to be aligned for all 32 teams to get to where they got to go to get success next season, or the teams that need to complete the ultimate goal in their Super Bowl windows if they have it, or playoff windows if they have it. But for the Raiders, what I was going to say is their match that I think they would do, like the Raiders would do, or teams seem to be, not just the Raiders, but teams in the league seem to be doing these days in the last 5 years or so. I think the match that they see, they'll probably do someone like Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator from the Tampa Bay Bucks, if they're able to poach him away. And it'll just be like one of those situations, let's just see what the fuck this nigga got. See what the fuck going on with him. Like, let's see what he about. Let's see what the fuck he got going on, for real. And on top of that, one of those situations where it's just like, this is just a hire to fire motherfucker right here. You know what I'm saying? But, whoa, if he surprises us, oh, shit. Like, all right, now we in position here. Oh, we might fuck around being in position to trade up or trade somebody or trade some pieces for the top quarterbacks that are better next year and shit. And it's like, oh, shit, good thing we got the coach in place now, because look at what he did with Aiden O'Connell. Look at what he did with what we got, and, let's see what the fuck he about. Or, what I'm saying? It's just like, all right, we're just going to do this right now, hire and fire, until we get, who we need to get, or we get all our house in order and get the shit set up in the way we want it set up. Because, Tom Brady, majority owner, they basically want him to be like, it seems like a GM or some shit, but not yet. So not this year coming, but maybe down the line. So maybe next year, some shit like that. So it's like, let's just hide the fire so that we could get the nigga that we really want to come in here and shit. When Tom Brady really running shit, the GOAT and shit. He know he. All they gassed off of that shit. Like, they OD gassed off of that shit. And, I guess rightfully so. When you win all them rings like that and shit, you got a little bit of clout to have niggas gassed off you and hype off you to be like, yeah, I could come in here and run an NFL team and do anything. You know what I'm saying? Now, football is a way different sport, so I wouldn't be surprised if a GOAT like Tom Brady could pull it off with some success or the ultimate success as compared to one of the other GOATs, Michael Jordan, who every team he's ran has just been fucking garbage on the court. You know what I'm saying? So that's a whole other subject for another day in another sport. But yeah, I think the Liam Cohen thing maybe is a match, just in my mind, in my head, you know what I'm saying? A little bit, as dumb or as crazy as it sounds, because this is the part in my head where it's going to start to make sense a little bit. I didn't think for a second that Ben Johnson would go there to the Raiders because they ain't really got no quarterback. They got some receivers there, but not really a plethora of good a plethora of talent in that room like that. I'm not saying it's a bunch of scrubs, but I'm not saying it's no one's like, oh shit, like, yeah, you gotta keep an eye on these niggas all the time. But they got some guys where it's like, oh, I've seen them make a play in the Raiders game on the Raiders high. That's what's up. Like, okay, cool. So, and then you don't really have a quarterback like that, to do the things that Ben Johnson be trying to fucking do with his offenses and shit. So I ain't think that would be a good match for him. And it's like, okay, niggas kept talking about all this shit for the past week or whatever, past few days. Oh, yeah, he's showing off for Tom Brady. Oh, he's trying to impress Tom Brady. He gassed off Tom Brady. Like, nah, like, fuck all that. This is a nigga that turned down opportunities last year because he wanted to be really careful about where he go and everything like that in his situation. You know what I mean? Because it seems like this is a smart guy that's very conscious and aware that if I fuck up bad in one situation, it might not happen again. You know what I'm saying? And, like I said, as of now, currently recording this, he earlier today, he chose the Bears job, which I also thought wouldn't be a good match for him. And with that being said, leading into what in my mind, what I think the perfect match would have been or should still have an opportunity to be, but with how weird the vibes are with everything right now. But I would say, the Raiders, the best shit they should do, go for the whole family package right now with DEION and Shador. They, what I'm saying? They should do that. I think, the Raiders, they got the 6th pick. I think that they should try and, because this season was a wash, next season is definitely going to be a wash. You know what I'm saying? But start taking them steps now to build up on what you could be in about 2 years or 3. You know what I'm saying? Take the Sanders package deal. Whether DEION wants to come and coach his boys or not. Because Nevada is right there by Colorado anyway, or around in that vicinity, in that area, right? On that coast and shit, right? So, trade up from the 6 if you can to number 2 or wherever you got to get to. You know what I mean? Wherever you got to get to, because I'm pretty sure Cam Ward is going to the Titans, right? So trade up to number 2 if you could do that, because New England's going to want to trade down anyway, right? The Giants ain't going to go for no quarterback. I think there's a little fixing. They trying to prepare to get Arch or whoever the fuck, most likely Arch next year, or Arch when he's a senior, because they already made that statement. He's staying all 4 years. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. Trade up to the number 2, grab Shador, try and see if you could get DEION to come there. You know what I'm saying? Even though, now more on what I was going to say, I don't think DEION's leaving college. I think he likes how he has it set up. The setup is too good for him. It's just the only thing is how long? For how long, though, my nigga? For how long can you keep going? You know what I'm saying? Like 9-4 and, you know what I'm saying, just missing the playoffs and playing in little bowl games instead of for how long, you know what I'm saying? Can you do that for and not contend for a national championship, right? And we know you want to be the ultimate winner, the ultimate champion. That's what we know you as and your mindset as, right? Your philosophy as, but See, trade up for Shador. See if you could get Pops to be the coach. Of course, get Shiloh also, because you could always use an extra defensive depth player that just want to be a heat-seeking missile. Shiloh, the other Sanders brother, he could work on his game a little more, but that's good. He could be in the cut, working on how to be a good special teams player, and then maybe a starter or a spot starter, and play safety, come down in the alley, make some tackles, make some plays, force some fumbles, right? Now, you got Shador at quarterback. You got the brother there, too, in the cut, right? Y'all close to Colorado. Even if you can't get DEION to come to Shador's first year, when you get Liam Cohen on some higher to fire shit, and then after, if Colorado doesn't make it all the way to the national championship, or they fall short of making it there, or shit, if they do make it there, I know that sounds crazy right now, but if they do make it there and fall short, you know what I'm saying? Make the sweetheart deal, which will probably be the same year that now Brady gets more into the fold. And, champions love champions. Game recognized game, right? And they're going to love. And Brady already got a good relationship with your son. He already got a good relationship with Shador, with a little bit of mentorship on how to play the position. Now in Shador's second year, when he I got my welcome to the NFL moments, I took my lumps there, I found out what the fuck this shit's really about to be now. Now you bring Pops in, and now we ready and rocking and rolling with the GOAT and with the Pops, and you got the whole Sanders family package. I think that's the best match. That's a better match. But that's just what I think. My crazy thoughts there. So that's what I say on the Raiders. If not, even with the Brady effect going on in there and shit like that, you also might not have to count out Brian Flores, as they were teammates and he was around on the coaching staff when Brady was there also and shit. And that's a coach that I think can build a culture throughout his defensive mindset while they're in a wash year, in a couple wash years or whatever, until they could get a quarterback and then see what he could really fucking do. Because I think that Brian Flores is actually a really good fucking coach and could probably be a good head coach. Next, I'll go with the JAX. And I thought at first, once again, before the news, that low key on some sneak shit, that Ben Johnson would have taken this job, or probably should have taken this job with the JAX, and it would be a match because I think that the JAX actually have a sneaky good roster that's young, offensively and defensively, in the positions that you want playmakers at, like receiver and the D line, some edge rushers and linebackers. They still got Devin Lloyd there, who's probably is a vet now, but he's still young. Got Travis Walker, Josh Hines Allen, who's a vet, but he's still young. You got some interesting pieces on the defensive side of the ball that can still make plays. Foy Luakon, a good veteran who's still productive. Ventrell Miller, who's young, who showed he's really productive. You just got to fix that back end a little bit. And you still got a young guy at the safety position in Cisco who could play when he comes back healthy. You got the young boy Jones on the corner. I mean, their corners did not have a great year at all. But he made some noise a little bit. And then on the offensive side, you got Brian Thomas. You got niggas like Tank Bigsby. You got Parker Washington, who it looks like he could get ready, be primed and ready to play a slot role when they move on from Christian Kirk, if they move on from Christian Kirk. You know what I'm saying? You got some little pieces there. So, I think that this would have been a match, and because one of the other main reasons is because Trevor Lawrence. Now, I'm not saying in a way where Trevor Lawrence is nice, and he's been no, I don't even think they should have paid him that fucking money. He's a flop, but they paid him that fucking money. So now what you gonna do, right? You gotta get someone in there we gotta figure this thing out and help turn this thing around, help this dude out, right? Trevor Lawrence. And I'm talking about a coach like Ben Johnson, right? Trevor Lawrence, similar build to Jared Goff, 6'5", right? Got a big arm. He could throw it, but what does he got? He's got more athleticism than Jared Goff. he is basically Jared Goff before Jared Goff got to the Lions or before Jared Goff got Sean McVay on the Rams. Like, wasn't all that good. It was a little mixy, and then it looked like, oh, this nigga's a flop. Got Sean McVay. They got him right, coached him up, put him in a good system where it could make it easy for him. And then same thing with the Lions with Ben Johnson. But the difference is Trevor Lawrence can run around a little bit, or he could throw outside the pocket a little bit and all that. The thing about him is he needs to get his mind right and protect himself. You're always getting hurt or putting yourself in harm's way. But not just that. I'm not going to put it all on him. Shore up that offensive line. Draft some offensive linemen around him, or sign some veterans that want to protect him, that got his back, that's gonna fight for him too if he get fucked up even just a little bit. If somebody look at him wrong, protect him back there. But more importantly, coach his ass up and get him in a system that is going to make it easier for him, instead of always trying to look downfield and taking these deep drops and waiting for these deep routes to develop and all this other crazy extra shit. You know what I'm saying? So I think that Ben Johnson would have been a good match there, because that roster, I'm not saying it's complete or amazingly built, but they sneaky have good talent, and you just need to fill out and build around the rest of the roster and round it out in other positions. Maybe, get another receiver here or there, and get a couple cornerbacks or a couple DBs here and there. Maybe add an extra pass rusher in depth, for third down rushes, or you got to switch out Walker or Allen, right? You still got Travis Etienne. He's a vet, but he's still young, and I guess running back, they age faster. But you got Tank Bigsby too. You got Ingram at tight end. Or if you want to get a sneaky good tight end for depth in the draft on free agency. But what's crazy, that's good? You already had the franchise quarterback. And you already paid him, even though it's fucked up. It's like, you shouldn't have paid this nigga because he ain't all that. But he coming off injury. Get him healthy. Protect him to keep him healthy. And now coach him up to turn this shit around here and get Jacksonville in motion and rocking. So I thought that, Ben Johnson, that would have been a nice match for him. And then it's less pressure. It's Jacksonville. You don't have all the pressure of them other cities and the other medias and shit. It's Jacksonville. You don't have the pressure like that. And then you already have a quarterback in place. And if it flops with him and doesn't work out with him, in your third year, you're a solid mainstay, because your defense and some of your playmakers on offense are still keeping you in contention to slide into the playoffs as a wild card. You know what I'm saying? And it's still maybe not working out with the quarterback. You still have a position where you're like, well, this nigga was here before me. I could draft who I want now and still stay here. You could overcome that shit. Instead of being like, damn, I'm tied to this young nigga and shit. I ain't even drafting and shit might flop. Just saying. And it's still a similar situation, but you could overcome it a little bit more, better, more smoother in Jacksonville, I think, because a little bit less pressure. Niggas aren't going to be looking for you coming. They don't expect much from you. And you already got a quarterback in place who's now a veteran at this point in his career, a young veteran that he just needs a little bit of, coaching up, protection, and some health. And you got time to do that with a 5-year contract. But now at this point, I think the better match is probably going to have to be between Liam Cohen and maybe Brian Flores. But Liam Cohen, I think that either of those minds definitely will help with the team there. But we'll fucking see. We'll see now after everything that's kind of transpired here. And then last for today, I go with the Jets. I think it's a no-brainer, but when they have an owner that has no brain, it's really not that simple. So with that fucking franchise over there, but it's Aaron Glenn. I think the best match for them is Aaron Glenn as the head coach there, who seems like a person who could do a whole culture rebuild and change and philosophy of how they want to approach games and execute trying to win games, because that's exactly what they need, from the top down in the offices all the way down to the field. And I think that Aaron Glenn is one of those dudes you could kind of see it in his presence, but it's not something that you this just happened overnight or he's on fire or anything like that. Like, you seen the process and the path in his coaching path here and his experience from coaching with the Saints, from coaching with those Saints teams there, where I believe he coached with Dan Campbell when Dan Campbell was an assistant coach on the staff there too, to coaching with Dan Campbell in Detroit for a few seasons, going through the mistakes and this and that as a coordinator and certain schemes that didn't work or did work or whatever. So he's battle tested, had the experience, and then just to see that the way he talks, interacts, and what he expects out of his players and how he believes in his roster and his players, even with all the injuries this year and last year and the lack of personnel last year and everything on that side of the ball. Give up a lot of points, but still kept them competitive, still got some turnovers, still seeing some of the schemes that you're like, okay, this man's trying to make something happen here with what he can. But other than that, the scheming and everything, and I know it's another defensive coach for the Jets or whatever, but I just think that this dude, with all his experience through the years and everything like that, I think this dude he just seems like one of those coaches that when he gets in this position as a head coach, it's going to be really CEO, real leader, more of a culture setter, got a philosophy for a system that he wants to put in place that he expects from everybody in the fucking building, down to the motherfucking office niggas and shit. So, get him in there, get AG in there, and match him up with the perfect GM. And I mean the perfect GM, because no GM has been good at all. Nah, I mean, JD was solid, more solid than most in the past few years, in recent memory. But, they need the perfect GM because they have some, I'm not saying serious moves, like their roster right now is terrible, but this is the time to make some really bold moves in setting the culture and the philosophy in that building, and also making bold roster moves, because you have no real QB in the building right now. So you could kind of fuck around and just be like, all right, fuck it, we're going to start with whoever the fuck at quarterback while we build out and round out this roster. You know what I'm saying? I think that they're definitely not in no position draft-wise to get no fucking quarterback this year. I don't think that they're going to be terrible enough to even be in that position next year. And even if they are, knowing how they fucking operate, they're going to fuck that shit up anyway and end up picking number 6 anyway when they need to be picking number 1 through 5, right? But you got to make some bold roster moves here because you don't have a true QB on the roster, and do some shit like, fuck it, Jordan Travis going to be the starter day one, just to see what the fuck he's about, see what he is. He might fuck around and end up being the franchise quarterback that you think you're looking for too. Who fucking knows at this point with them, right? You know what I'm saying? They could kind of make this in the mold of that Seahawks team when they signed Matt Flynn and they drafted Russell Wilson, but they made some crazy roster moves. They traded picks away for 2 pass rush. Well, they signed one because I think they signed Bennett away from the Bucks, or traded him from the Bucks. I can't remember. That was a long time ago. But then they traded for another pass rusher and Cliff Averill from the Lions. And then they took all these low-round guys that niggas kind of slept on outside of Earl Thomas, like Cam Chancellors and Browners and Richard Shermans and shit in these low rounds, and Doug Baldwins and shit. And they all ended up being fucking ballers, which they were in college also, but niggas didn't see that or whatever, right? And you start a rookie at some point, or you start a young quarterback at some point in Russell Wilson, who niggas didn't think was balling, but you seen him balling in college with Wisconsin. And just like niggas seen Jordan Travis balling at Florida State, let him start and see what the fuck happens while you round out everything else on the roster and shit and build your culture and your philosophy. You know what I'm saying? And with no true QB in the building right now, you gotta make some crazy shit happen. Like, You got some guys that are going into their 4th and 5th year now that have been on this team and they're really good and they never been to the playoffs. And you're not gonna make the playoffs next year. You're probably not. You're gonna probably come close to it the year after that. But you're not going next year, and then you gotta pay them, and it's like you might as well make some bold moves to flip them niggas, because they're gonna become depreciating assets on your roster. I'm not saying as these guys are gonna be on the decline soon. No, that guys like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, they're still good players. They're still gonna be good players in the next 2 to 4 or 5 years, right? But on this team, and they never been to the playoffs, they don't have that taste and that experience. You gotta see what you could flip for them and start and get some more assets. You gotta flip that shit and see what else you could get in here. And get more talent and retool and replenish, and then get these guys under this new philosophy and this new wave now of shit that you want to do. That's why I say you got to match AG up with the perfect GM also, and be ready to make them bold moves and let you know what I'm saying? Put your nuts on the table and be like, yo, fuck it. I know these niggas was nice and they did all this, that, whatever, and they was rookies in their first 3 years here, but they ain't never sent the playoffs, and they got to go. You feel me? So I think that the best match for that team is AGLENN, and they got to match him up with the perfect GM, and see what happens and do some wild shit to really flip that whole franchise around. But I like AGLENN for the Jets. I think it's a good match. I don't really see nobody else for them that makes sense. Outside of Glenn, probably another time. Now I've been saying the whole time, probably Brian Flores. Other than that, it would be cool to see an offensive mind in there, but we don't really know what the fuck Liam Combs is really, really about, and you don't want to see that in an area like New York or in the New York market or with those New York fans. Or maybe you do. Maybe you might fuck around and come out of nowhere and be that fucking nigga and shit. I don't know. But with that being said, for right now, with the head coaching matches and everything like that for the teams, that's all I got. I'm gonna wrap this volume up here, volume 14 of Welcome to the Franchise with the franchise guy, the franchise kid, young sport. Thanks for whoever's listening out there and enjoying another episode with me on a quick hit here. Gonna still try and get back to it as much as I can. But other than that, y'all enjoy y'all weeks, enjoy y'all sports week, enjoy y'all football week, basketball week, whatever you got going on, women's college basketball, all of that. I'm gonna keep trying to do what I do, like I do for TV. Y'all out there, be easy.